I recently listened to an audiobook called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by Dr. David Hawkins, and I can honestly say that it was one of the best books on spirituality and mindfulness that I've ever read or listened to. In it, he shares probably the simplest technique ever for not only letting go of unwanted emotional baggage that weighs us down, but also for allowing ourselves to more fully undergo a process of tremendous personal and spiritual growth. Dr. Hawkins was a very accomplished doctor and psychiatrist who, at various times throughout his life, experienced profound states of transcendence and awareness of the oneness of everything, which completely changed everything for him. He describes times throughout his life where he was so absorbed in the experience of oneness that he literally completely forgot his personal sense of identity and even spent great lengths of time alone without any form of stimulation from the outside world or even social contact. It was really fascinating to read about some of his accounts, and the books are even written in such an impersonal way that he hardly ever uses personal pronouns like I or me, and refers to himself often as if he was speaking about a third-party individual that was the actor of anything that he did in life. At any rate, from the mystic and transcendent states of consciousness that he experienced, he brought back an incredibly simple but profoundly powerful teaching and technique of letting go that anyone can use literally anywhere and at any time. It's not even so much of a technique as it is just a way of being that most of us wouldn't even believe is possible because of all of our social conditioning. Although it is incredibly simple, this process of letting go honestly has the power to transform every area of our lives from the inside out if we let it. So in order to describe this, let me give you a hypothetical scenario. Let's say you're at work and your boss is really getting on your case about something and really letting you have it. Even if you are not totally at fault for whatever the situation is and you attempt to explain yourself, they don't want to hear it and continue speaking to you in a very stern and disapproving tone of voice. I'm willing to bet that you can probably already feel in your body what this experience would be like if it hasn't already happened to you. By the way, this could also be a spouse or a parent or really anyone who is close to you. Regardless, what almost every one of us does in this sort of situation is to tense up in response to the unwanted feelings that this event tends to trigger. What happens is that other person's stern tone of voice will trigger within us suppressed and unresolved emotional content that we have been carrying within for years, and which brings up painful feelings like shame, guilt, fear, anger, and so on. What we have learned how to do to cope with those feelings is to try to avoid them and literally just tense up our bodies and muscles, almost like we are physically defending ourselves from the emotions that are coming up from within. What Dr. Hawkins taught was that in any such moments like that, the way to process those feelings and to let them go is to simply become aware of them as they arise and make no attempts to judge, control, or resist them in any way. And as simple as that may sound, there are a lot of misconceptions and even reasons that someone might not think that this is actually a good idea, but I'll hopefully address both of those here shortly. In essence, when you feel tension in your body and find yourself resisting an unwanted feeling, all you have to do is accept that you are having that feeling and then just relax the tension and simply experience it as fully as you can in that moment. This is not done on a mental level. It is done primarily through the body on a somatic level because that's really where the emotions are arising. People engage in all kinds of destructive habits and behaviors in an attempt to avoid their feelings, but until we actually address them and give them the space to be fully felt, they are never going to leave us. Now, I want to point out that this technique is a bit subtle, but the consequences of learning how to do this consistently really can change your life. You may argue that you are absolutely already experiencing unwanted feelings such as anger, rage, anxiety, depression, grief, etc., and that they don't seem to be going anywhere. The difference with this technique is that we need to learn how to feel those emotional states without any resistance, judgment, or analysis, and just completely allow them to be a part of our experience in those moments. And as a very important point to mention, you must be very careful not to get caught up in all of the thoughts and stories that are playing out in your head as those feelings arise. Thoughts and feelings are very closely linked, so a barrage of negative thoughts typically always follow from unpleasant emotional states that we may experience. You have to be really vigilant in those moments so that you don't engage with those thoughts. In all honesty, the less you think while doing this process of letting go, the better. Just understand that the thoughts are simply fabrications of the mind and are not necessarily true. That way, it will be easier for you to ignore them and to move more fully into the experience of what you are feeling without believing all the related thoughts that seem to support and underlie those feelings. So what are the benefits of doing this, and why might one actually be reluctant to letting go and fully surrendering to the experience of these negative emotional states? Well, I'm glad you asked. Think of letting go as a steam valve. As a result of numerous emotionally impactful events from throughout your life, there is a lot of suppressed emotional energy, aka steam, that is buried in the tissues and organs of your body. That energy is actually supposed to be able to move through us and be done, but due to the lack of education and awareness around emotional intelligence that we receive here in the Western world, we never even learned that this was a possibility. Not knowing any better, we pretty much all have buried emotional content because we didn't know what to do with it when it was first experienced. As we now more consciously allow that energy to come up and move through us without any internal resistance, we are literally processing it and allowing it to be let go of. We are releasing all the steam that has been pent up within us. What this means is that you can release years and years worth of emotional energy that has been operating subconsciously within you, influencing your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors, often in very unhelpful and self-sabotaging ways. Be assured that you are strong enough to feel the suppressed feelings that you have within you so that you can finally begin to surrender it all and to be free. In certain severe cases of trauma and PTSD, it is definitely a good idea to work with someone who is trained to help with the processing of such experiences, but for most everything else, we can simply allow ourselves to feel our feelings so that they can finally be released. The truth is that no matter how intense any suppressed emotional state may be, it is never going to be strong enough to kill you. You can survive the experience of just letting it come up and being fully felt. So why might someone actually resist the process of letting go? There could be numerous reasons, but hopefully I can address a few of them that might even have occurred to you already. I think the biggest concern that many of us have is an issue of control. If we completely let go and surrender to the experience of our feelings, we're afraid that we will no longer be in control, and then who knows what can happen. I could also see how someone might think that surrendering to their feelings is like giving in and allowing their suppressed emotions to take over their life. I want to assure you that surrendering to your feelings is not a pathetic state of resignation where you give up any control and power to better yourself and improve your life. Letting go is allowing yourself to stop resisting your feelings for a short time so that you can release all of the emotional energy that has been subconsciously pent up and holding you back from living more fully and enjoying your life even more. Because once you learn how to do this successfully, you will actually regain more of your true power to change your life for the better, because you will not be constantly struggling against all the repressed emotional content that is trying to leave your system, but that you actually keep holding down inside you. This means you will actually start responding and communicating in better and even more positive and constructive ways when you're in the midst of a challenging or stressful situation. I hope that this is all making sense. Letting go, as I've described it here, is not something that you just do once and then never have to do again. It really is an ongoing process that you engage in anytime you feel an emotional trigger that is arising within you. That's why I referred to it earlier as a way of being, because the more that you practice this, the better that you will start to get at it, and the more of an automatic, unconscious process that it will become. Just consciously focus on releasing the tension in whatever part of your body that you feel the trigger in, and just allow it to be there until the steam runs out. You can do this anywhere and at any time, so I do hope that you will try it and see the amazing transformative effect that it can have on your life. Over time, what you will find is that you are no longer so easily triggered by things that really used to bother you, and you realize that you have the strength and capacity to handle anything that life can throw at you. This builds resilience and develops your ability to cope with stress, which is also very beneficial for when you are ready to take on bigger and more exciting new pursuits that require a certain amount of tolerance for uncertainty. There are honestly more benefits to this process than I can even begin to list here, but I hope that you are seeing my point and getting a sense for the tremendous value that this process can hold. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far into the video. Please be sure to give this a like if you enjoyed it, and let me know any questions that you may still have about the letting go technique. And if you are interested in working with me one-on-one to learn how to make letting go and mindful living more of a way of life for you, so that you can start solving your own challenges with greater confidence and clarity, then please be sure to click the link in the description of this video to learn more about how I can help you. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.